In the year 2020, Israel made new friends, that too Arab ones, the UAE, Bahrain, Sudan, Morocco. Normalization was the word on the streets. Peace deals were billed as game changers. And nearly 2 years later, the region is once again talking about normalization, this time between Israel and Saudi Arabia. According to reports, the White House is working on a roadmap for normalization. This will be between Israel and Saudi Arabia, especially ahead of President Joe Biden's visit to West Asia. There may be no agreement during the visit, but Biden's aim is to get the two sides to arrive at a consensus. Earlier this month, it was reported that both Israel and Saudi Arabia were holding secret talks. Apparently, the talks were being brokered by America. Officials even said it is not a question of if Riyadh will recognize Israel, it's a question of when. The bargaining chip being the islands of Sudan and Sanafir. These are two strategic islands in the Red Sea. Saudi Arabia wants full control of these islands, and for that, they need Israel's approval. According to reports, the US is secretly mediating for the transfer of those islands to Riyadh, and if successful, it could lead to separate normalization steps. If Riyadh recognizes Israel, it will open the floodgates, sort of like a green light for other Muslim countries. But this process will be long and gradual. For years, Saudi Arabia has settled on one position: settlement of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is a precondition for normalizing ties. And this is a stance that carries great weight in the Arab world. But over the years, the kingdom's position has seen a shift spearheaded by the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman. The Israel move could, however, be his biggest test so far, and Saudi Arabia seems to be in no hurry. However, the recent political instability in Israel could act as a deterrent. Israel needs to have a government first before it inks any normalization agreement. And with us on the broadcast is our correspondent Susan Teherani with us from New York. Susan, what are you picking up on this roadmap for normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia that the White House is working on? The timing also being crucial, this coming ahead of President Biden's visit to West Asia.
Right, so we have a few points right now, Molly. It seems that for now, at least, the Biden administration is hoping that even if a major breakthrough isn't reached, at least it'll be a foreign policy achievement for a president who has been widely criticized for even thinking about taking this trip to Saudi Arabia. It involves finalizing the transfer of two strategic islands in the Red Sea from Egyptian to Saudi sovereignty, and a senior Israeli official said that, we won't see some kind of huge breakthrough between normalizing relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel, but said that an agreement could be reached between the Israeli airlines to Saudi airspace for flights to India and China, and that's apparently very close. And if we look at the big picture, really, during Biden's visit to the Middle East, the White House really is betting on this sort of integrated missile defense and naval defense vision and agreement that it hopes that the U.S., Israel, and several other countries can sort of reach an agreement with. And, Israel and Saudi Arabia, they're at least very keen on having this kind of agreement with the United States because both of them face a threat, at least from a country like Iran.
Right. Susan, there is the talk of how there may be no agreement, but the report saying that the American president wants the two sides to arrive at a consensus. Now, this is, of course, very strategically timed with his visit to the region as well. He has been criticized for the shifting of his stance, specifically when it comes to Saudi Arabia as well. What is the domestic implication of this move?
You know, on the one hand, the president is really trying very hard to pin this as a sort of solution for the problems that he's facing here at home, notably lowering gas prices and inflation. On the other hand, you have his critics, even within his own party, saying that the solution here is at home, open up the gas fields and oil fields. The solution is literally under your own field. Why don't we become energy independent ourselves instead of going overseas and asking Saudi Arabia, or quote unquote begging Saudi Arabia for oil and gas? And I think that what he's doing right now is, on the one hand, he does want to talk about energy with Saudi Arabia, but on the other hand, he's now touting this security aspect of the trip and sort of highlighting it to move away from that criticism and that discussion, not only as a distraction, but also playing up on the security apparatus as well to gain momentum before his trip.
And we will, of course, keep coming back to you as and when we have further updates on that front. Susan, thanks very much for now. And our correspondent, Jody Cohen, has also been tracking those developments. She earlier sent us this report from Ranana. Take a look.
Foreign Minister Lapid's visit to Turkey today suggests that while domestically things are uncertain in Israel, on the foreign affairs front, it appears to be business as usual. President Biden's visit to Israel is also going ahead despite the elections. With the focus likely to be on a Middle East air defense alliance, there is a growing sense of shared interests across not only countries that have joined the Abraham Accords, but also those that haven't yet. While Saudi Arabia joining isn't thought to be likely during Biden's trip, we could possibly be seeing the first of a series of announcements that indicate normalization, and a furtherance of the relationship looks certain. This is Jody Cohen for WION World is One.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.